Hi guys, Corporal6 here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the vector. Before we get into it, I'd just like to take a moment and thank everyone for the feedback and support I've received after the last video. It spurred me on to plan a whole series of these, and I'm always keen to know what you want next, so please let me know. As you'll likely be aware if you're watching this video, the vector has recently undergone a change as part of the removal of the 45 ACP rounds from the game. Instead, it's now using 9mm as per the other world-spawn SMGs. Somewhat annoying, as I'd have put it in the last video had I known this was coming, but I guess this means we get the chance to give it some closer attention. We'll do the usual recoil tests and compare both the 45 ACP and 9mm versions against each other with a full range of attachment combinations. Now, apologies to those who've seen this segment before, but for those unaware, the attachments break down as follows. The vertical foregrip reduces vertical recoil only and offers a reduction of 15%. The triangular foregrip reduces horizontal recoil only and offers a reduction of 20%. It also reduces the time taken to enable ADS, or aiming down your sights, by 10%. In my opinion, this doesn't offer much of a practical benefit, but it may give you just the edge you need if you're in a close firefight. The compensator offers a reduction in horizontal recoil by 20%, vertical recoil by 25%, and it also reduces bullet spread by 10%. The SMG flash hider offers a reduction in horizontal recoil by 10% and vertical recoil by 10%. It does not reduce bullet spread, but does reduce the muzzle flash to offer more concealment when firing from a covered position. The tactical stock reduces horizontal recoil by 5% and vertical recoil by 5%. It also reduces sway by 10%. Right, let's have a look at it then. The 45 ACP version of the weapon had a rate of fire of 1090 rounds per minute, a damage per second of 600, and bullet damage against the level 1 vest of 19.8, meaning you'd need 6 body hits to take down your target. As a comparison against the Scorpion for the last video, it was marginally slower to fire, but did a little bit more damage per bullet, meaning the overall DPS was just edged in favour of the vector. Annoyingly, at 19.8 damage against an L1 vest, we are literally 1 damage point away from only needing 5 bullets to down a target. Now, I hear you ask, what does the 9mm version look like after the change? Actually, came as a real surprise to me. Absolutely none of this has changed when moving to 9mm. If that's not clear enough, this immediately puts the vector ahead of the MP5 and MPX, at least on paper. Actually, I tell a little lie. The mag capacity has been changed to 19 rounds, 33 with the extended mag, meaning it's improved, but you'll still need the extended mag to fully make use of the close range firepower. The real question is, how does it compare in actual usage? So, let's find out. We'll use full auto fire for these tests. As per last time, this may not be the most practical in real world usage, but it does allow us to make a fair comparison across the weapons, and also means we can compare it against the other SMGs, as you'll see later. Oh, and I'm not going to demonstrate all the permutations, otherwise we'd be here for the next half an hour. First up is the 45 ACP version of the vector. This is no longer usable in game, but will provide us a nice reference point to compare the 9mm against. Okay, things looking pretty good for the old vector. Close recoil patterns across the range of attachments, making it actually quite usable from the off. Looking at the character scale, even without recoil control, the first 15 rounds are going to be very usable. Sorry about the missing data for the grips and stock. Unfortunately, I only realised I didn't have this after the patch dropped. Right, let's see how the new 9mm version compares. First, a reminder, we've got 7 extra rounds per magazine, so the perceived increase in vertical recoil is actually more due to the fact that there are additional rounds to be fired. There's quite a lot to take in on this image, so let's do a quick scan and pick out some examples. First, the weapon with no attachments, both comparable and nothing to say that there will be much difference between them. However, looking at the angle grip, we can see there's a bit more spread early on, and the same can be seen for the compensator. Overall, I'd say that the 9mm version appears a little more erratic in the horizontal recoil as a whole when compared to the 45 ACP version. What's hard to tell is whether the stock makes any difference, so let's switch our focus there. Using 3 examples of real-world attachment usage that players might choose, we can do a side-by-side comparison both of the ammunition types and also the stock. The first thing that I notice is that the old Vector definitely seems to have been more stable in each of the circumstances, and that across both types the horizontal recoil seems actually slightly less predictable when the stock is attached. Definitely not what I was expecting. The trade-off for that appears to be a reduction of vertical recoil, but this seems to be applied as a multiplier to other attachments already on the gun, because there's absolutely no vertical recoil on the 9mm no attachments version when you add the stock. I'd always perceived the stock to be a vital attachment, but seeing this, I'm actually no longer going to be worried if I can't find one. The last bit of analysis we need to do on just this weapon is now to focus on the version available in the game, the 9mm. Let's clear down the visual just to show this weapon both with and without the stock. First thing I'm going to call out is that the evidence we just saw seems to be corroborated here. The stock is just not as important as I originally thought. Second, the weapon is very stable indeed just after you pick it up immediately, and oddly enough, the addition of the vertical grip makes it do very strange things. As such, I'd recommend the triangular grip or no grip at all. As per the last video, the best combination here is the compensator and the triangular grip. You just need to dial in your manual control of the vertical recoil. Okay, so here we go then, what you've been waiting for. Let's pull in the data for all the world spawn SMGs and see which we should be using. I'm going to pick a few setups based on the preference for the triangular grip rather than show them all, otherwise we'd end up with another screen full of recoil patterns. First, the MP5 baseline. Next, the mpx-sd. Obviously we're limited on the attachment options here. Then, the Scorpion, our previous 9mm weapon of choice. And finally, the Vector, without the stock given what we've just discovered about it, but importantly, with the extended mag. Well, would you believe it? I would not have expected them to be quite so close. There really is very little to choose from between the Scorpion and the Vector now in terms of handling. They take the same attachments, use the same ammo type, and across the board are broadly similar, the Vector suffering slightly until you get that triangular grip on it. We need a deciding factor. Fortunately, there is one element that differs more significantly: damage drop-off. I'll be doing a more in-depth video on this in the future, but for now, you just need to know that the Vector starts to suffer from damage drop-off earlier than the Scorpion, and it tails off much more quickly. As you just saw, it took 5 hits from the Vector and another 2 with the FAMAS to down my opponent. I think in that kind of situation that's probably the limit of usable range for the weapon. Given the stats for recoil combined with the note on damage and the dependency on the extended mag, my recommendation here will be that the Scorpion retains its place as the 9mm SMG of choice. However, choice is often limited, and I hope this video helps you better understand how to effectively use the Vector. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. In the next video, we'll be looking at the P90 and how it compares with the other SMGs, once I've found enough airdrops to test it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.